So I was watching the 2016 Doctor Who Christmas special, The Return of Doctor Mysterio, with my sis, and there was some dialogue that utterly confused and befuddled me to do with the reunification of the Doctor and his traveling companion Nardole, um, which I had completely forgotten about when we got to an episode in Series 10. The episode wherein, I forget the title off the top of my head, but the episode wherein Missy was about to be executed, put to death, after having been put on trial, and the Doctor had to be there to bear witness and to actually, pull the lever to complete the transaction, if you will. And Nardole shows up with all this pomp and circumstance, this enigmatic, mysterious nature in a hooded cloak, bearing a sort of, scolding message from River Song, hoping to persuade the Doctor to his better graces not to go through with this. Not to pull the lever, not to execute Missy, the Master. And at the time, I remember recording a video and saying, oh, so that must have been how they got back together after the Husbands of River Song. Nardole's first debut in Doctor Who, his first appearance. But now, having watched The Return of Doctor Mysterio again, do I find that the dialogue says otherwise. The Doctor and Nardole had gotten back together through the Doctor's own intervention. He'd gone back and saved, air quotes, Nardole's decapitated head out of the king, Hydroflax or whatever he was called, his cybernetic body, the well of the belly of this giant robotic armor, and reconstructed, per the dialogue, Nardole. So from then on, they were traveling companions because, as Nardole puts it, the Doctor was afraid of being lonely. After missing River Song and sending her to the library at the end of Husbands and everything like that, where she would meet her penultimate doom, her demise. And so suddenly I was like, I was all confused because I'd been under the impression, watching that episode in Series 10, having completely forgotten this, particular line of dialogue from The Return of Doctor Mysterio. I'd been completely under the misassumption that this was how the Doctor and Nardole reunited. Somehow Nardole had chased down the Doctor, knew where he was going to be, probably sent there by River with that message from her, scolding the Doctor and trying to persuade him, trying to intervene on his behalf, his better graces, to not go through with executing Missy. And at that time, again, I got the impression like the Doctor and Nardole had not been together. So I thought this was a flashback to when they had gotten back together. Somehow Nardole knew where to be, knew where to catch up with the Doctor, and that's how they were reunited. But then that begged the question, if that were so, how did Nardole get there? The Doctor has the TARDIS and everything like that. Surely Nardole doesn't have one of his own. How did he get his body reconstructed? I'd completely blanked and forgotten that dialogue in The Return of Doctor Mysterio. So now that I know that, recollecting back, I feel like I got to call up that episode in Series 10 again and really pay more close attention to what is being said and how things are being conducted. Because it's very possible that Nardole had been with the Doctor all along, after all, and was just dicking around. Wore the hooded cloak, maybe it was a misdirection pointedly toward viewers, thinking, oh, this was going to be John Simm's Master or something like that, or it was going to be River Song's return or something like that. And it was purposely misdirecting. It was purposely enigmatic, or it could have been Nardole the character just dicking around, wanting to seem more important than he actually was, to deliver that message from River to the Doctor. But like I say, when I watched that episode, I'd completely forgotten the dialogue in The Return of Doctor Mysterio suggesting how they got back together. And so I was under the assumption this was a flashback to how Nardole caught up with the Doctor after they'd first met in Husbands. If that makes any sense. So I'd love to hear from you guys. If you watch this video, if you have any better memory than I do, you can recollect it better than I can. If you're in on any information that I might be missing, that might be going over my head at the moment, if you remember for sure, you know, I mean, it's brass tacks. It's locked in, canonized, for lack of a better term. Nardole and the Doctor were you know, reunited because the Doctor went back and saved his head. Well, then what the hell was with the episode in Series 10? What the fuck was going on there? Why did Nardole seem to be acting out this was his first reintroduction with the Doctor? Or am I completely mistaken? Because that's the vibe I got at the time. And it makes no sense if they'd been together all along, which, you know, it was episodes into Series 10, and they'd been together, and so I'm all confused. I don't know. I don't know if I can make sense of it. It's a wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey confusion at its best. And I don't usually experience that with Doctor Who, but this time out, I'm either remembering wrong or I misinterpreted that scene in the Series 10 episode. And now that I've gone back and watched Return of Dr. Mysterio, I know the better. But I'm just thinking it doesn't make sense now. It's like a double introduction, a double reintroduction between the Doctor and Nardole after Husbands. And that doesn't make sense. You know, I don't know, man. Who knows?